Hi everyone, thanks so much for being here. My name is Kat and I make houseplant videos here on Good and Planty. If you just so happen to absolutely love this video, please consider liking, commenting, subscribing, or following me on Instagram. All of these things help me grow my channel like a plant. Today we are looking at 5 houseplants and I'm gonna be sharing the least expensive houseplant in my collection to one of the most expensive houseplants in my collection. I think that this is gonna be kind of a fun video because plant prices change so much over time that specifically one plant purchase that I have in this list is almost laughable now. It's just a fun way to kind of reflect on plant prices and see how things shift over time. I definitely want to emphasize that, again, plant prices look different now and will also look different if you live somewhere else from me because I am based in Philly and I do get most of my plants from Philly. So with all that being said, I really want to jump into the video. So let's get to it. But first, sorry. Thank you to today's sponsor, natureid. Natureid is an app available on iPhones and Androids that uses AI to identify plants and actually also cats and dog breeds with just a photo. I have found so many useful and entertaining articles about plants, plant care recommendations, tips on how to choose plants for your home, and even some gardening tips. The app allows you to set up notifications for watering, misting, and feeding, and you can set that up for every plant in your home once you set them up in the Your Plants tab on the app. A lot of you have given me feedback that you love these apps, mostly for just keeping tabs on the plant care that you have going on, so this could be the perfect app for you. The app is available on iOS and Android, so you can look it up in the App Store or Google Play. Just type in natureid and you should be able to download the app for free. However, if you want to check them out, they will also be linked down below in my description box. So huge thank you to natureid for sponsoring today's video. And now let's talk about the plants. All right, the first plant I want to talk about is this jade plant, or a Crassula ovata, I believe. I have not talked all that much about this plant. She's a little bit newer to me. I've had her for a few months. This is definitely my cheapest plant because I got her for free from one of you lovely people, actually one of my members. Shout out to Audrey. And yes, obviously, if you don't want to trade for this plant, it'll cost you like maybe a few bucks, but these are one of the easiest plants, in my opinion, to get for free. They are super easy to propagate. You can trade for them. You can ask your friends for them. If you are wanting some cheap, easy, potentially free plants, I definitely recommend looking into the jade plant. They have a very cute little growing structure. They're like tiny little trees. It's been a really easy grow for me. I basically just water this plant when the leaves are getting soft. She is not thirsty right now, so I can't really demonstrate. But if I squeeze on one of these leaves, you can see there's not really any give. There's really no wrinkles happening. So she is definitely content with the water in her system. For light, a little bit of a brighter light would be ideal, bright and direct light. I use Liquider on this plant for a nutrient boost, as with all of my other plants. No need for a high humidity with this plant, very chill. Again, easy care, very ideal plant. Next up, we have Maranta. Haven't talked about her in a minute. Who missed her? Here she is in all of her glory, looking good. This is the Maranta that caught mealybugs pretty severely and then also actually had a little taste of root rot. So she has seen some things. You can kind of, if I turn her this way, it gets a little funny, but we're gonna look at her this way. The Maranta is a fairly accessible plant. I've noticed that be true within the states surrounding Pennsylvania as well. If you're looking in the right places, you should be able to get a Maranta in probably about a 4-inch pot for about $5, maybe $10. Honestly, I believe I got this plant in a 4-inch pot for $5, which is great. These plants are a little bit harder to take care of than the jade plant. They're definitely a bit more susceptible to pests like mealybugs. We live and we learn. For water, I recommend using distilled water. However, I have gotten lazy and don't really do that as much. And you can see that I have a little bit of crisping on some of the leaves from that, these plants also do enjoy higher humidity, but no moisture on the leaves. So if you are keeping this plant by a humidifier, please be mindful of that. Otherwise you will still get crisping on the leaves. For water, just keep them lightly moist. They do, oh my God, the sun is changing. They do like to have a little bit of moisture left in the soil. However, simultaneously, they also have weaker, thinner, finer root systems, which make them very prone to getting root rot. I apologize for this lighting. I really do. But yeah, that's kind of it on the maranta. They're vining plants, so they'll grow a little bit bushy. And one of the fun things about them is that if they're getting the proper lighting and they're content, their leaves will open and close with the day and night is what they look like. I have a whole video on maranta actually. If you want a little bit more of an in-depth look, I will link it. And that's it on the maranta, $5. We got, ooh, I just watered her actually, so I'm gonna be careful. We got the rickrack cactus, and I love this plant. I don't really talk about her enough. She sits upstairs on my little cactus sill. I don't always want to bring her down for videos, but today was an exception. Now this plant, we're moving up a little bit in the expense scale. I got her, these are actually two separate plants that I combined in one, and both were about $20. I got one locally, I believe, and then I got one from Gabriella Plants, and I think that they actually still have them up on their site if you want to go check them out. This is a little bit deceiving. I would say this is a $40 pot, but I see them mostly sold in 4-inch pots, and each of them were about $20. For these plants, they are cacti. It is called the rickrack cactus, but keep in mind that it is a jungle cactus, so that makes them a little bit different from your common everyday cacti that people kind of shove in a window and forget about. These plants need a little bit more TLC. They really appreciate consistent watering. You can tell that this plant is thirsty. I'm getting water all over me. You can tell this plant is thirsty because there are wrinkled leaves, particularly towards the bottom. I'm hoping that you can see this. I'm doing my best. The leaves are very squishy, like that. So I just watered her and she'll bounce back just fine. This plant is still very resilient, like typical cacti. When it comes to light, they do like bright light. You can see that when they get ample light, they even have a little bit of a red color in their leaves. So I would say bright indirect light is best, but she's indirect light and I haven't, you know, she hasn't died yet, which is great. Just be careful with those plants because I always forget that they still do have those the spikes. So I've hurt myself on that plant quite a bit actually, more so than any of my typical cacti because I do forget that she is pointy. So be careful with that. Okay, next. This is the funny one that is interesting to reflect back on. I have this Philodendron silver sword. Now you can get a pretty decent like 4 to 6 inch pot for about $50, maybe even less. But I got this plant as a 2-leaf unrooted cutting for $45 plus shipping. So we're talking over $50 for something that looked like just this top bit, but actually one less leaf, which is so funny to think about. There's a lot of plants that I think this happens with, where you get them when you're feeling really attached to this plant. It's all the craze, you need it, you want it, so you order it, and then enough time goes by where that price has plummeted and you're like, wow, I don't even think this plant in its entirety is worth $45 to $50 in the market right now, and it has grown so much since I first received it. I would say this plant right now is probably worth about $25. I don't know. But I would say that's a fair price compared to some of the more luscious ones I've seen for $50. Believe it or not, this is one of the most expensive plants in my collection in terms of what I've actually paid for a plant. I still love her. She's a philodendron, so she's very easygoing, drought tolerant. I do let her dry out between waterings. I like to give her bright indirect light so that she can keep this beautiful bluish silver color. This is one of my favorite leaves in my collection. No regrets, because I got to grow this plant from a little baby, and it's very, very rewarding to see a plant get to this point when, you know, she came to you very unstable. And B, I got to enjoy her for much longer in my collection, because this color truly does not get old. It's a beautiful plant, and I really recommend her to everyone. It's very similar to the Philodendron Pink Princess that I kind of talk a lot of smack about, but whatever, the leaves make up for it on this one. I do recommend her. She is worth the splurge. All right, last plant. I am on my hands and knees begging for the sun to relax. Like, what is this? Oh, also, in the meantime, shout out to Faber Manor on Instagram for my lovely earrings. How cute are they? They are the cutest things ever. Just wanted to say that while I was waiting for the sun to calm down. The last plant on my little list is the Syngonium. This is so funny. The Syngonium batik. How gorgeous. She's gorgeous. The story with this plant is I did get her for free. It was sent to me from Indonesia. And also, since she did come from Indonesia, she would have been cheaper than if I got her locally. But peeping around on Etsy and some local American shops, I found out that this is probably worth somewhere between $60 and $80 in the current market. This is considered a commercially rare plant right now. Not a lot of people are growing it or selling it. This plant, and I also will add a disclaimer for that. This plant was much fuller when it first came in, but during acclimation, she went down to this one last leaf. So I'm giving these prices more so on the previous state of her. At this one leaf, she would definitely be worth less than $60 to $80. But regardless, this is a stunning plant. As I've mentioned 50 times on my channel, I'm very much struggling with Syngonium, my favorite genus actually, in this house. This house does not like Syngonium, and Syngonium do not like this house. So I'm trying to make it work. I keep her under a cloche like this. It just so happens to fit perfectly. This cloche is from Amazon. It's linked in my description box. Syngonium do like high humidity, and because she's recovering, I keep her like this on my plant shelf in bright indirect light, and I keep her very lightly moist is how I take care of her. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Those are 5 of my houseplants from least to most expensive. Please let me know what you think. I think the silver sword is one of the most interesting ones that I did today. I'm sure other people relate to that experience. I'm kind of just curious what plants did it for you. Thank you so much for watching. Again, a huge thank you to natureid for sponsoring today's video. They will be linked in the description box down below if you want to check them out. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Please subscribe, like this video, comment down below, hit that notification bell, check out my merch, all that good stuff. And I will see you in my next video. Bye. Huge thank you to all of my members. Thank you to O'Neill, Val, Katrina, Audrey, Louie, Heather, _B, Jacqueline, Brooke, Daniel, Vanessa, Michelle, Tori, Candy, and Pam. You guys are the best, and I'll see you in my next video.